Trials of Democracy. Im Hintergrund sehen wir den Maroon Palace. Jetzt bin ich aber sehr gespannt. Es gibt Nachrichten, es gibt Mitteilungen, es gibt wie immer viel zu tun. Schauen wir uns zuerst die Nachrichten an. Sordland Today. School poisoning in Ribel. Police have arrested the principal of a high school in Ribel in southern Bergia, where 12 students died after eating a free meal laced with pesticide. The student age between 15 and 17 died after eating a lunch of local dish of sabla cooked at the school in a poverty-stricken city. Police have started the investigation to solve the mystery of how the pesticide ended up in the food. Ja, das wüsste ich aber auch gern mal. Time for women to stand up, schreibt der Radical. Oder die Radical, muss man sagen. Radical Voice of the Unheard. Ist die Frage, ne? Ist es eigentlich The Radical Voice of the Unheard oder Radical Voice of the Unheard? The women in Sordland have always been under pressure by the unequal society and the system of discrimination that was built by old men who only knew about war, said Katharina Horten in a women's rally that was held in Horsord yesterday. Sordish League of Women is organizing a number of rallies across Sordland to bring the change Sordland desperately needs. It's time for Sordland to realize that we have to respect every individual regardless of their sex and strive to become an advanced civilization. Women have long been pushed to the corners of the social and political life. To address this change, a new campaign was started all over Sordland to establish a framework of women's rights. Sordish League of Women is organizing rallies with the support from Minister of Education Ciara Walder and Member of the Assembly Katharina Horten. Everybody is equal according to the Sordish constitution, but there are no protections against discrimination, which only reinforces the inequality in practice, said Walder in a press conference. This movement must be supported by our Sordish women as well as men. We need to bring change now. We can do it. Und das Schulsystem braucht wohl auch Überholung. Questioning Solist Education. The newly unveiled SIPA Education Performance Report unveiled a sad reality about Sordland's abysmal status in comparison to many countries. Sordland was rated 39th out of 68 nations that were assessed by the OMEC organization, which is the Organization for Mercopan Economic Development. The primary gauge of the quality of education is made from a sample of 16-year-olds from each nation and their capacity in fields like mathematics, history, chemistry, and many others. One of the key issues was seen in the strong focus on history and citizenship classes, leaving little time for scientific fields. Minister Walder often mentioned the gaps in the system in her assembly debates before she joined the cabinet. This is also supported by one of our editors, a professor from Horsord State, who had long been critical of the situation in secondary education. The SIPA report reveals the damning truth that solid education, based on the principles of statism, nationalism, republicanism, poisons the bright minds of our children. We need to rid the system from the poison that is ideological indoctrination and let our future generations think themselves. Das ist aber interessant, dass der Radical das nicht einfach quasi durch eine linke Indoktrinierung ersetzen will. Spannend. Economist, upcoming government budget changes. As the top economy experts in the country, we have been watching the upcoming changes to the government budget very closely. President Anton Rayne's first internal economical challenge lies ahead, and we will see if he can prove his capabilities as a leader who can think ahead. The potential ramifications of diverting the funding to certain governmental branches has always been a point of contention for any leader, and it is no different for this case. We will see if President Rayne can hold on to the promise he has given during the election campaign. Und schließlich Geopolitico. Van Horten blames Walksland for the missing fishing vessel. Kommt es zu einer diplomatischen Krise. On Tuesday morning, Agnolia's Prime Minister Van Horten has made a statement denouncing Walksland for the missing vessel, Hull number ARV 0238. Our dutiful coast guards have rescued a crew member of the missing vessel. Through his statement, we had learned the ship's unfortunate end was none other than Walkslandian Navy. However, the Prime Minister has refused to disclose the surviving crew member due to fear of an assassination attempt from Walksland to cover up their hostility, as the Minister later claimed. Also, da kommt es hier wohl in den Gewässern um Heiligport, möglicherweise, oder stand glaube ich gar nicht genau wo, aber zu Auseinandersetzungen. Hoffentlich eskaliert es nicht. So, was ist los in Burin? Communist books burned. Local residents gathered thousands of books that they claimed to be spreading communist and Malenjevist propaganda at the Century Park in Burin and set the books on fire. Aggressive slogans targeting the Red Youth, the Workers' Party of Bludia and the Communist Party of Sordland were shouted. Youth groups from the local party offices of the USP and NFP also joined in with the burning. The fire department was dispatched and the protesters dispersed on their own. Ja, Bücherverbrennung mögen wir jetzt nicht so gerne. Diplomatisch ist hier nichts los. Gibt's was Neues aus Narbel? The mayor has reported that their hospitals are overburdened and they are unable to respond to the needs of the citizens. He complained about month-long waiting lists for terminally ill patients. Ja, outdated technology haben sie auch noch. Wahrscheinlich müssen wir jetzt gleich entscheiden, ob wir in Bildung oder in Gesundheitswesen investieren wollen, kann ich mir vorstellen. Bludish resistance in sanctuaries. Security units have arrested 3 priests at 2 different Nurity sanctuaries in Sana after finding links to insurgent activities. The report came from an elderly man who wanted to pray in peace but instead found himself invited to join the Bludish Freedom Front by a state-sanctioned priest. Further incidents indicate that the Bludish Freedom Front is pushing for a local recruitment drive in different sanctuaries across the region. Ah, okay. Verstehe. Young Swords and NFP flags burned. A massive counter-protest against Young Swords led by a local politician known to be aligned with the Red Youth resulted in many injuries and property damage. Subsequently, Young Swords and National Front party flags were burned, which caused tensions to escalate. Local police dispersed the protesters by sundown. Immerhin hat es noch keine Schießereien wieder gegeben, ne? So, recession hits farmers again. As per the latest news from Lakehaven, the farming industry has taken another hit as a result of the recession. There are reports that 16% of all wheat in Lakehaven is rotting in barns due to the lack of buyers. Farmers are requesting additional funds from the government to survive the year. Ja, kann denn die Regierung das nicht aufkaufen einfach? Und Brot unter den Armen verteilen? Barbecue with Franc. Das ist das nächste Ereignis, was wir machen müssen? Dann wollen wir doch mal grillen. It was a Saturday afternoon, my first break from work in what felt like years, and the weather couldn't have been more perfect. Trying to keep my mind off the upheaval sparked by the circus assassination, I lit the backyard grill. Monica and Deanna were out shopping for craft supplies, and I'd given the staff the day off. It was just myself and Frank at home. I wasn't sure how he felt about me at the moment, but I did know how he felt about barbecue ribs. Our cook had left some marinating in the refrigerator. Sure enough, as soon as Frank glimpsed the grill and the meat, he stepped outside to join me. Look who's finally out of his room. You should talk, Dad. I never see you at home anymore. Ja. I'm preoccupied. Ja, das ist Kindern aber egal. I'm sorry. I know I haven't been around very often lately, but I'm happy to see you now. It's okay. I know you've got the most stressful job in the country, and you've got to feed your family on top of it all. We both chuckled. I turned the tent to the fire. Here, let me try. He grabbed the fan and started quickly waving it over the coals. The fire roared to life. He turned to look at me with a grin on his face, as if he was expecting praise. Good job. Thank you, sir. It is in our utmost interest to fulfill our duties with precision. The grilling shall commence in exactly 1 minute and 32 seconds. That was a spot-on impersonation of Lucian. We looked at each other for a second, then burst out laughing. I realized my throat was parched. There was a 6-pack of beer in the kitchen. Wie alt ist der Kollege? Steht da nicht. Warum steht das da nicht? Ich muss wissen, wie alt mein Sohn ist. War der nicht 16 oder so? Stand weiter oben. Wo ist oben? Familie. Das muss doch vielleicht sonst bei Monika steht auch nicht. Wann? Hä? Hä? Da muss doch wohl stehen, wann die geboren sind. Warum kann man sich nicht selber auswählen? Oh, man kann sogar theoretisch Notizen machen. Ah, das finde ich aber ganz geschickt gemacht. Okay. Important Events. Das ist doch ein Important Event, wann der Sohn geboren ist. Nee, scheinbar nicht. Monika. Okay, dann, ja, aber wenn er 16 ist, kann er wohl ein Bier mittrinken, ne? Why don't you bring us a couple of beers? He looked at me in disbelief. You mean I can, but Mum... He stopped himself, quickly ran inside and returned with 2 beers. We cracked them open, clinked the bottles and gazed out at the city skyline. For a moment my thoughts flashed back to my childhood and my relationship with my own father. My father was a poor man who struggled to provide for us on his meager income. He put me to work on the farm long before I was Frank's age, and even then he couldn't always make ends meet, yet we were always close as a family. Now that I was the president, I knew Frank would never face the same hardships as I had. I couldn't deny that I felt a bit jealous. Can I ask you something? You can ask anything. It's just, I feel like there's so much you've been hiding from me about your past and about what's going on right now. Like at diner that night after the ball, you told me everything was under control, but it wasn't, was it? I know what happened in the 20s. We learned all about it in school. Now with the protests and the riots, is it going to be the same thing? Is there going to be civil war? I hope not. He let out a sigh, but what was it like back then? Uncle Peter said the two of you went through a lot. I'm not a kid anymore, you can tell me. Before I could gather my thoughts, the familiar images start flashing before my eyes. Ja, er hat ja... Anton hat ja einige sehr traumatische Erlebnisse gemacht. Images of soldiers advancing towards me and my friends, weapons drawn. Of people I knew, friends and neighbors, being dragged through streets and murdered in alleyways. And that little girl's face. Habe ich mir schon gedacht, dass das Mädchen, das vom Panzer überfahren wurde, dass das nochmal wieder auftaucht. Those were dark times. It seems like it. Let's talk about it. Frank leaned forward in his chair, his eyes wide. Civil War oder dem Coup? Bürgerkrieg. It was time to tell him about the Civil War. It was right after I met your mother. We had both joined the student council to push for change after the coup of 27. Eventually, I became convinced I wasn't doing enough, so I joined the Red Youth. Then one night it happened. Two different factions in the army, one of them led by fascist General Luderin and the other by socialist General Rickard, started fighting against each other. It was a bloodbath. Nowhere was safe. Frank shifted in his seat, visibly uncomfortable. So we organized a protest one day in support of Rickard. In our minds, he was the better of the two and a true socialist. I paused for a moment before continuing. It was horrible. They were waiting for us. Soldiers started beating and shooting at everyone and plowing their tanks into the crowd. Amid the chaos there was this girl. I never forgot her face. I tried to save her, but I couldn't. I couldn't reach her in time. Frank's face had grown pale. He turned his eyes away from me. Ja, wenn wir schon dabei sind. I was barely older than you are now, studying history at the Dire University of Culture. I was a freshman, excited and young. I just left the classroom to go back home as I heard the sound of multiple vehicles approaching the campus gates. As they got closer, I realized they were military camouflage trucks and tanks carrying hundreds of soldiers. The same soldiers that were supposed to protect Sordland's citizens pointed their guns at us. They immediately took control of the facilities. One of my friends asked what was going on and was arrested immediately. More people got angry and gathered in protest. Frank kept listening, a shocked look on his face. Seeing the crowd gathering, I knew something was going to happen, something bad. I decided that it was impossible to go against armed men and ran away from the scene. Ran away from my friends who were getting arrested and shot, to save my own dear life like a coward. Tja, shameful oder justified? Das ist eine schwere Auswahl, finde ich. Also, I Should Have Stood My Ground ist so eine olle Heldengeschichte. Das finde ich irgendwie, weiß ich nicht. Andererseits sozusagen in Solidarität und im Widerstand gegen die Gewalt da zu bleiben, ist jetzt auch nicht verkehrt. Dann ist das ein schöner Moment. Warum das? I still feel my flight was justified. Ich meine, also, man muss ihm ja jetzt auch irgendwie sozusagen damit einen Rat fürs Leben mitgeben, ne? Also sozusagen ihm zu sagen, dass man nicht den Helden spielen muss, finde ich jetzt auch nicht verkehrt. Aber einfach sozusagen immer ohne Widerstand wegzulaufen, das will ich ja auch nicht. Ich hätte gern ein Ding in der Mitte mal wieder. Ich glaube, ich werde es dann auswürfeln. Es sei denn, es gibt eine Mehrheit für eine der beiden Optionen. Also Ninja möchte gerne Option 2. Wie sieht es mit den anderen aus? Eine weitere Stimme und die Entscheidung ist getroffen. Kriegen wir das hin? Da schauen noch mehr Leute zu. Ich sehe das. Na gut. Dann machen wir die 2. Dann machen wir die 2, wenn sich da niemand mehr zu äußern mag. Man muss für die Sache einstehen, an die man glaubt. No one could sleep that night because of gunshots and sounds of boots. I can't forget the screams to this day. Frank leaned back in his chair, his shoulders slumped heavily. That's enough for today. It's okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked you about it. I know I don't understand how easy my life is sometimes. One more thing though, I know that you joined Red Youth back then. Do you mind if I ask why? Yes, I do mind. A communist revolution was and is still the only way. I had to survive somehow. Das ist so, als wenn das völlig bedeutungslos gewesen wäre. Also, ich meine, was in gewisser Weise Sinn ergibt, weil er hinterher in die konservative Partei eingetreten ist, aber ich habe damals dran geglaubt. I made a choice. Ich weiß nicht. Ich weiß nicht, ob das dritte das Richtige ist, Mensch. Das ist so, als wenn diese ganzen politischen Sachen alle keine Bedeutung haben, als wenn es quasi nur opportunistisch um die Macht, um das Amt an sich geht. Aber das ist ja nicht der Fall. Wir haben schon eine politische Agenda. Aber halt kommunistische Revolution, das liegt da dem Charakter jetzt auch nicht so. Und so radikal ist er nicht. Also mal abgesehen davon, dass es unter den gegebenen Umständen offensichtlich unmöglich ist, aber oder schwer ist, wäre eine kommunistische Revolution durchzuführen. Aber er will ja auch keinen stalinistischen Staat. Das will er auf jeden Fall nicht. Ja, dann bleibt wohl nur 3 übrig. Weil ich da nicht so ganz glücklich mit bin. Frank raised his eyebrows, his curiosity still not satisfied, but sensing my reluctance to go on, he simply nodded. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. I know I complain sometimes, but my problems are nothing compared to what you went through. You're damn right. I'm here to listen to them, no matter what they are. Before Frank could say anything else, I heard the front door unlock. Deanna and Monica's voices and the sounds of rustling shopping bags filled the house. Alright, I'll be upstairs until dinner. Frank went in and dashed upstairs. I took a long sip from my beer, looking at the city and the now setting sun. I hoped that talking to Frank about my past had been the right decision. Part of me felt as if some sort of burden had been lifted. But I had the same nightmares again that night. Ja, was ist mit dem Frank? Was ist mit dem Frank? Morna Industrial Outcome Concerns. The mayor of Morna has reported that their industrial output numbers this year are 12% lower than last year. They are requesting additional support to improve their industrial capacity, including machinery and personnel, to combat the downwards trend. With the construction of several new factories in Morna, the mayor stated his belief that an economic upturn in the city is still possible if government investments succeed. According to current projections, Morna is set to lose an additional 2% of industrial output next year. However, recent data from the municipality suggest that an investment worth several billions of Rayne will stop the downward trend and increase the industrial output in a short amount of time. Ja, naja. Gut, schauen wir uns die anderen Sachen mal in der nächsten Folge an, liebe Leute.